the question. Now, I got this crazy theory, guys. Okay, Neil Druckmann. Um, like it or not, all people are talking about right now, and you gotta think about this from a creative point of view, I guess. Right now, everybody's talking about how trash the story is, right? And even me, like you guys have seen my spoiler review, and you know how bad the story is. But probably, I'm probably the only person gonna say this out loud anyway, because I'd revealing this could put a lot of the gaming industry at risk. But hear me out. So this is my theory, all right? This is my theory, and I'm not trolling. I'm not high or anything. But guys, Neil Druckmann, I this has been eating away at me for a couple of weeks now since I completed the game and started the new game plus and all that. And I'm thinking, why? Why would such? Because he is talented, he is gifted. He gave us the first game, right? He directed the first game. That was his vision. But why would he do a complete 180 and pander to all these leftist lunatics and give us the game that we got in the sequel? The fucking this insane. Anyway, you guys know my thoughts on music, but listen, hear me out. Nobody, and if this is all part of Neil's design, I'll be fucking impressed. Nobody in the news, in media, in articles, nobody is talking about the brutality, the violence in this game. That all they're talking about is the fucking story, and the news don't give a shit because it's pandering to them. The news loves progressive fucking Nazi leftist bullshit where they're just forcing it down your throat, so they're not going to report it. There you go, they think it's great. It's only legit YouTubers that are reporting about how shit the story is, not IGN or anything like that. They gave it a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. It's only people that actually speak from their unbiased opinion, that aren't fucking brainwashed by these cunts, these leftist fucking radical terrorists. But hear me out. The Last of Us is insanely brutal. Like, so some of the gameplay is probably some of the best gameplay I've played, and some of the most violent as well. Like the way they've made the AI, and they've characterized the AI where they're calling out each other's names, like that's fucked up. And the dogs as well have names, and the kind of brutality you can do. I was playing through the game a second time, and I was intentionally aiming for people's hands or limbs, because you could blow someone's hand off and they will scream, and they will scream for like 10 seconds, and you know you've got the kill because they're fucking doing their screaming animation, and they're literally clinging on to their life. What the fuck? What game lets you do that? And the thing is, they kind of brushed over it, but you're not just killing like white males and that. You're killing females. You're killing black females in this game, and all kinds of people, pregnant women, and it's like, what the fuck? And like, I've played some pretty gruesome games. Do you remember the old Condemned games and stuff like that, and GTA obviously, but graphically, to see the brutality in this visual fidelity is fucking ridiculously realistic. And if you noticed, because everybody's talking about the fucking shit story, like the kind of the brutality in this game. Do you remember when GTA 5 came out, where you could get a hooker, you could do your business, pay them, and then you can get a car, kill them after, get your money back. And it was all over the fucking news. It was like, what the fuck, this is so violent. And bearing in mind, the graphics were shit, but tell you what, the media, the news kicked up a fucking fuss about it, do you remember? And they were like, oh, getting the video games banned, and it's too violent. Have you seen some of the shit you can do in this game? Are you fucking kidding me? And where it looks so realistic as well, way more realistic than GTA 5, but because so I tell you what, if because this, I guess this is the only way to advance the gaming industry, is you gotta like fucking, you gotta secretly, you gotta like jam it in somehow. You gotta like wedge the brutality and violence, increase the violence and brutality by overriding that with this fucking shit story that Neil Druckmann's done. So maybe Neil Druckmann has done a Dark Knight here. He's sacrificed basically his reputation and himself just to ship this game and get it approved by Sony. The fucking the level of violence in this game. Now, I don't think I should even be talking about it, to be honest, because I don't want to fucking draw attention to it, and then fucking people like catching on like, oh shit, fucking hell, maybe like CNN or some news outlet will report and say, oh, the games are too violent now, yeah. Because I'm all for more violence. You can have a real good time. You can have such fun playing a violent video game and more realistic and all that stuff. But you can't have fun when there's a shit story involved. But play The Last of Us 2 and ignore the fucking trash story that Neil has portrayed us and given us, and the gameplay is some of the best fucking gameplay, probably the most realistic as well. The shooting and the bullet damage and blowing someone, like if you aim for a kneecap, you will blow that guy, that fucking NPC's limb off, and they will fucking scream for their life, and their mate will call for them. They'll be like, yo Jeff, my name's Jeff, and are you there? Oh shit. And then they'll send their fucking dogs after you, and then they flank you, and it's like, what the fuck? Ridiculous, man. So some of the craziest fucking shit, and stealth kills as well, where you can, when you go out to sneak up on an NPC, you stab them in the neck, and then you can spin the camera around and see their facial expressions as they're clinging on. You see the life leave their eyes and shit. What the fuck? And they've got away with it. Do you know why they've got away with it? Because they fucking, Neil Druckmann was like, the only way we're gonna fucking, well, this is my theory. I don't know if it's, but the only way they were gonna get away with this level of violence as a game, if they made the story so trash that people would just overlook all the fucking violent content in the game and just be talking about this fucking transgender chick through half the game story, and how the story just veers off and does its own thing, and it's just how trash the story is basically. And I think from a game director point of view, if he's done that, then I guess maybe he is a genius. Because how else would he get the game shipped? How else would we? Because any game that comes out after Last of Us 2 now, and no one has brought up, and there's been nothing in the news about The Last of Us 2. If any game comes out now that has an amazing story, that has this level of brutality, even more, all people will say is, well, The Last of Us 2 was fucking brutal. You didn't say a thing about that. Why suddenly are you bringing up this? And I guarantee the fucking media won't touch it. So maybe, just maybe, Neil has sacrificed his reputation just so he can fucking get more and more violent video games, more realistic animations. And I guess every generation, like maybe every 5 or 10 years, we're going to get one of these amazing IPs that are going to basically be game changers. So, you know, it's a new level for, I forgot what you would call it, but a landmark, kind of a milestone in gaming history, a development. Because The Last of Us 2, regardless, is the gameplay is really fucking intense. Like and visually as well, it looks next gen to me. It looks next gen. I've seen some of the next gen PC games, and none of them look as good as all these PC Master Race fanboys think they have this incredible product they spend $4,000 on. I can't play anything on PC that looks as good and smooth, as slick, as polished as this game, and Naughty Dog know it as well, and PS and Sony and PlayStation know it, and they've got away with it. They've got away with this fucking brutality, and you gotta look from a logistical point of view. Like Neil's got a chance to get his reputation back, but the gaming industry doesn't have a chance to release more and more violent games if the fucking media start, yeah, oh, we need a ban and all that shit. And countries are already banning fucking loot boxes and shit like that. So how long before they start banning violent video games? If you squeeze them in under the guise of this shit story, then it will work. Simple as that. Anyway, that's my theory. That's my theory right now. I'm not saying I support the story or anything like that, or what Neil's done to the game, but I'm saying maybe fucking Sony told Neil to fucking take a bullet this time, take a bullet for the industry, and just be like, make this phenomenal game, this incredible gameplay, incredible visual fidelity, and get the guys on board, the devs, make sure they fucking make this as realistic as possible. But the only way we're gonna fucking get away with it and ship it is if they fucking is if people don't talk about the brutality. All they talk about is the shit story. Because I'll tell you now, the news, like the actual, not the gaming news, but I'm talking about Sky News, fucking Fox News, the presenter and everything. They're not going to talk about, oh, gamers are outraged because gamers are outraged because of the shit story of The Last of Us 2. All they'll talk about is it will be a fucking quote. It will be like a line at the bottom of the screen, and it will be breaking news. Oh, game's too violent. Because one, imagine if we didn't get the shit story. Imagine if Last of Us 2. Just imagine now if Last of Us 2 was an amazing story. It wouldn't be at the bottom of the line. Oh, a video game gets an Oscar for its amazing story and content. All it would get was our video game's too violent, too brutal, and The Last of Us 2 would get shit for that. It wouldn't get shit for its amazing story. It would get shit for being too violent and brutal. But because Neil shipped a shit story and trash the character and the beloved characters, the media don't give a fuck about that. News don't give a fuck. Nah, it's not mainstream. It's not what I want to hear. They won't care about that shit. So it got away. It slipped through. It kind of the level of violence of this game, and this has paved the way for more games. And I know Naughty Dog won't go anywhere. They're one of the best developers in the world. So their next game they chuck out is going to be so brutal and violent and realistic, and it might not even be Last of Us Part 3. It might be a completely different IP for all we know. And I fucking pray to God Neil can either get his reputation back or get some other, world-class game director to fucking finish off the game. I know he's the VP of Naughty Dog, but if this all pans out, we could potentially see a bright future for gaming, because no one's going to contest it. If you brought out next year, if you brought out a game, completely different company, different developers and everything, this helps the industry completely. But if they brought out a game that is as violent, as visually beautiful as The Last of Us Part 2, and somehow it gets in the news, like, oh, this game is too violent, our game's too violent, blah blah blah. All people would say is, wait a minute. What? So because The Last of Us 2 has some shit fucking leftist diversified, ethnic diverse storyline that goes through orientation, all that stuff, and identity politics, because that's allowed to be violent, and then this 10 out of 10 masterpiece, a game that they bring out next year or something, or even Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima could have a crazy level of violence, but it could be a really good story. It could really go somewhere. I hope it's not just another revenge thing. But imagine if you're able to, I don't know, amputate people with your samurai sword or something. And this is just an example. I don't know if Ghost of Tsushima is going to be a good game or not, but I'm hearing good things. But a violent, like GTA 6, for example. Imagine if, when GTA 6 finally ships, and the story is immaculate, really tugs at the heartstrings. They nail the characters correctly, and the level of violence and brutality is on point. And the thing is, it's not as violent as The Last of Us Part Two. Fucking hell, I've got to stop saying that name. I've got to call it something. Part Two. I'll just call it Part Two. But then they would get away with it because these fucking leftist morons, news agencies, that are global news I'm talking about, Sky and Fox, they just get crucified because they're like, well, why didn't you report on the violence in Last of Us 2? And it's like so like full of agenda, but we shall see. We shall see. There's potential here. There's a good opportunity, or maybe fucking Neil Druckmann just fucked up, and him trying to bring down the gaming industry has actually made it so, you know, games are better off now because of him, and it wasn't intentional at all. Maybe he's just a fucking lucky motherfucker, and his fucking brainwashed Anita, a brainwashed mind has been, um, maybe there's a positive, you know, a glass half full kind of thing. There could be a light at the end of this fucking dark tunnel for an amazing franchise IP like Part Two. To see it fucking demolished like this, it's heartbreaking, you know, especially if you grew up with The Last of Us. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Wanted to get that out there. It was bugging me. I was thinking about it all day today. Well, a couple of weeks actually. I was like, oh fuck, you know, maybe it could be. There could be something more to it. Maybe he was backed in a corner. He had to do something like that. Who fucking knows? But there's because you got to be honest. Neil was a smart guy. He's not gonna. He's not gonna fucking. This is like the Naughty Dog. I know they got a bunch of IPs in that, but um, The Last of Us and the characters now. That's Neil's baby. That's his. You know, he wants to see that grow up and kind of thing. He wants to see it flourish. Like, why would he tarnish it like this unless he had to just give up one of his IPs for the better of the gaming industry and give it this fucking radical leftist shit going on? But who knows? Who knows at the end of the day? I'm sure it'll all come out in the wash, as they say. Maybe a year down the line, there'll be some fucking article. Some will come out. We've already got devs from Naughty Dog leaking the game and their conditions and all that stuff. So maybe even Neil will come out in an interview and say, look guys, I was backed in the corner, I had to do it, I had to kind of do this. I was, I just can't imagine him. Can you imagine Neil? You know, one of those interviews where he's sat on the couch and the other guy's opposite, and then Neil just come clean and be like, look guys, I fucked up, you know, Sony had me backed in the corner. It could be Sony or it could be anyone. Fucking Anita had me backed in the corner, and we done a bunch of projections and we had to fucking make this story the way it was in order for gaming to be able to release more brutal and violent games, more realistic games in the future, because it's the overall distraction. It distracts people from that brutality to this fucking shit story. So all people talking about now is the shit story. They're not talking about the level of violence, which 10 years ago, 20 years ago, if you had this level of violence in a game, it would be all over the fucking news. And it's the same shit every year. It was like, do you remember? It's died down a bit now, but fucking hell, because you can't really make so much money. Like the industry, gaming industry, especially now during COVID, the gaming industry is making a shit ton more money than the movie industry. I'll tell you that. These actors and people who spent their whole lives being actors, fucking should have got into voice acting or some shit like that, because Jesus Christ, the gaming industry is killing it right now. And I guess this was a milestone to try and increase that level of visual fidelity in games and immersion. That's the biggest part of it. Hey, that's all I've got to say on the matter. And Joel, I miss you, buddy, and I hope they bring you back somehow, or part 2 was all a dream sequence. That'd be hilarious. Can you imagine? Alright, peace out.